Talking season is just about over here. We will talk Nebraska football some more, but of course, look forward to 5 weeks from now talking Illinois in week 0. Nebraska Cornhuskers live here with the voice of college football. We got a special, more than a guest, we hope, going forward. And of course, Greg Peterson makes this all roll for his 27th consecutive week talking Nebraska football with all of you for the next hour. So leave your comments and your questions, debate topics in the live chat, and we will get to them. Greg, how's it going tonight?
It's going great, Mark.
Who in the world did you bring with you?
Well, I'm sniffing something. I smell something in the air. Josh, do you smell what I'm smelling?
Honestly, I'm on a farm right now, so
then you're not.
Smelling a lot.
Could not be, but I think I feel that season coming right up around the corner.
Well, at least I'm a little closer to Memorial Stadium than you are right now. But I smell Husker football.
Yeah, it's time finally. Yeah, yep. I mean, every year they spend how many days trying to find stories, trying to find this and this when nothing's really going on, and now finally we got some meat, we got some goods.
Can't wait.
Absolutely. So everybody, we want to let you know that we are honored here. We got after 27 weeks of Greg and I kicking it around and slopping around and trying to figure things out, we actually have an expert on the line now. Josh Banderas, who played for the Huskers, of course, at linebacker from 2013 to 16. We will pull up his stats here in a second, but we can't wait to get some great insight. There's some good-looking stats, Josh. I saw that look on your face when I mentioned I'm going to pull up the stats here. That is nothing to be ashamed of. You were a player, no doubt about that, but welcome aboard.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. Anytime I can talk to Husker football, and I know you guys are about as knowledgeable as anybody that could go around, so it's gonna be a good time. We're gonna try and give somebody something different. I hope, let's give. We've got a lot of experience around here with you guys being around it, as long as I've been alive, and then me getting down there and actually getting to play. So I hope we get a little well-rounded show going.
Absolutely, that's what we got going here. We definitely have a lot of fun. We take whatever comments and questions we get in the chat. We really break it down as much as possible. And now to get your insight into it, this is going to be great. No question about that. So before we get into what's going on right now, Josh, we want to hear from you. We have had, as you can imagine, with the history of Nebraska football and everybody a little disgruntled about what the records have been recently. We get those old time questions all the time about what happened way back then. Let's start out with this. When you were first recruited and signed, what was your viewpoint on Nebraska football and in terms of history, tradition? Did you have a sense of it and an appreciation at that point?
Yeah, I definitely had a head start because my dad was back in the 80s. So, I mean, I know, when everybody talks about, we were like this in the 90s and the 90s and the 90s, and they keep pushing that forward. I'm like, well, pretty good in the 80s, because my dad was telling about the Game of Century 2, and you know what I mean. They were so close against Oklahoma another year, and then if there weren't 2 fumbles and a great Keith Jackson catch on the sideline, they would have walked through Georgia Tech in the championship. So, man, and all the black shirts I've got to meet through the years and everything. Just so yeah, I had a huge head start on a lot of guys, and that probably gave me a little more appreciation than most of the recruits coming in, but. That was a big thing when I was getting recruited. Bo and Coach Ells and everything. They kind of wanted me to help recruit, I guess, because I had asked once I got offered. I went in to Bo and I was like, "Hey man, I'm coming here, right? Like I live 10 minutes from the stadium. My mom's gonna do my laundry on the weekends. I mean, I'm coming here, but let me take my other visits. Let me go get a free." At the time, Oregon was top 5 in the country. I'm like, let me go get a free meal and have a weekend in Oregon. Let me see what Eugene's like. I'm coming here. And he just is like, no.
I think you were the second commit in your class, right? If I'm not mistaken.
First one that came here, second commit, Marcus McWilson. He ended up going to Kentucky, but he was the very first. Yeah. So I tried to recruit a lot of those guys. Ethan Carter still gives me some crap sometimes. He's like, I didn't even know you, and you were like Twitter messaged me like, "Merry Christmas, dude." You know what I mean? Some cheesy high school stuff. But I was like, you came here, so it must have worked somehow.
We've had Josh on for like 3 minutes, and I've already just certain things that he said has brought me to like 15, 20 questions I want to ask. So I'm going to have to space it. We got plenty of weeks to go. We got plenty of weeks because there's no way I can cram them all in because I got all sorts of games are coming to mind that you were on the field for that I got all sorts of questions. But we'll get into it because, of course, we want to address the 2021 Huskers. But with changes on the coaching staff, there was something that you said before we started to record about having you didn't have 3 particular defensive coordinators, but knowing guys, playing with guys. Talk about that transition because I think that gets undersold. People talk about the head coach, but not obviously you're dealing with your position coach. That's who you build a relationship with when you got recruited, and then the D coordinator and what that transition's like and how difficult it is.
Yeah, man. Well, it's tough on a lot of different levels. Obviously, the new scheme, you got to learn that. So, I like I said, my man Luke Gifford had 4 D coordinators in 5 years. So you finally, okay, I think I got it by the end of the season, and then you're like, I'm going to get good with spring ball, and I'm going to understand it, and then you got to just go back to the basics. And I always tell everybody, when you first learn a defense, by the time you get to the season, yes, I understand it, but there's a certain way that the brain process. I'm getting all scientific, but the brain like processes it. You know what I mean? So I've got to be able to just see something, and at the snap of a fingers, I know it. Yeah. So that first install, that first season, don't really have it that good. Some of your smarter players might get it. So then that second season, all of a sudden, I'm a little bit quicker. And as soon as those base details are down, you know what I mean? Now I can move into the finer details. But man, especially the biggest thing for us on the transition from Bo to Coach Riley was you had a lot of guys that were Bo guys and a lot of guys that were now Riley guys. So there was this rift. There was this rift in between guys where the new staff would come in and be like, this is how we do things. And you still had some guys who were like, nah, that's not how Bo did it. So I don't like this new staff, and I don't really know as much about the way that it went from Riley to Frost because I know less and less guys, but I'm sure there were some guys that were like, this isn't really what we're supposed to do here. Like, we've never done it like this before. So there's always that little rift. That was the biggest thing for us on the transition.
Good stuff. Again, we talk Nebraska football here every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central Time with Greg Peterson from Husker Online. He's got some great stuff available on his YouTube channel right here, Husker Online. Just look it up. Josh Banderas joining us here. He'll just be Josh from now on, but Josh Banderas, you know the name. I looked it up. We got 232 total tackles for you in 4 years. That's not bad work. 93 your final season there in 16.
Yeah, the first 2 years just probably should be eradicated. They were terrible first 2 years. I was not a good player. It took me a while to catch my stride.
Yeah, 17 tackles for loss. Don't want to short you one. 17.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks there in 43 games. That's a lot of games played in a college football career.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I definitely don't regret any part of it. I probably should have redshirted. I kind of got thrown into the fire. I maybe wasn't quite ready for it, but no, I mean, I got a lot of experience really quick, and that definitely helped me in my, in the years to come, my junior and senior year, especially being able to just be a part of big games, road trips, the whole process. That's something that helps a ton.
Let me tell you, let me jump in there and just educate some people too on Josh's high school background a little bit too. I had moved back from being on the national team at Rivals from Nashville, and Josh was an up and coming player, and for his Lincoln Southwest Silverhawks, he was Mr. Do Everything. He played linebacker, he played running back. I think he even punted and kicked at certain times and stuff, but. Josh was a highly ranked recruit coming out of high school. We went down to Atlanta, Georgia, with Josh and his dad Tom. He participated in the Rivals 5-Star Challenge. So outside of Baker Steinkuhler, Josh is the highest ranked prospect to ever come out of Lincoln Southwest High School. And you know what? He was a player, and he still is a player. And you know what? I don't think Josh has given up the dream yet. Have you, Josh?
I'm still hoping. I did a spring league down in Houston, so that was a little 8-week showcase just to kind of try and get some new film out there because they say in the football world, film it ages in dog years, right? So I've been out of it long enough that it's just irrelevant. Like the older stuff, it's just people don't care about it. So we'll see if something comes around, something in the CFL or the USFL is coming back, maybe. But I'm definitely kind of looking into the future and maybe trying to get into the coaching world.
What do you say we take one question for Josh? And again, we're going to have a lot of weeks to pick his brain about his experiences and what he sees out of the Huskers right now. And this is pretty standard question, not cutting on you here, Moose Strick, because it's a great question. Most memorable game?
Oh, the Northwestern game was probably the best. I mean, it's a Hail Mary. I just remember sitting on the sideline and I'm like, probably not. Like, we're going to lose to Northwestern at home. It's a terrible feeling. And then all of a sudden that happens. So that one's like my most memorable favorite, just for obvious reasons. But my most memorable is the UCLA game my freshman year. It was like my first full game starting. And I remember on the drive, we let the first touchdown of my career was let up. And it was in South Stadium, and I just remember like kind of looking at the crowd. I'm like, damn, I'm sorry, man. Like I got apologizing to the crowd. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to let this happen. You know what I mean? So that sticks out to me the most, just because I was in the stands and I remember like, dang, they scored, and I was like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry I let this happen. So that's the most like memorable one, but the best one, obviously, Northwestern.
And that game too, I was right there with you, Josh. You had Ron Kellogg Jr. in there at quarterback, and Jordan Westerkamp made just an unbelievable catch. But I was right there with John. I gave up, and I was already walking the other way, and my camera wasn't even on the field when that play happened. And I kind of caught the back end of the bench, the Nebraska bench, and everybody just and that was amazing. That's probably one of my most memorable games ever in Memorial Stadium. And I'm an old man, so yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, nobody knows that Nate Gary just about died on that same play because he ran in, and you can like rewatch the film, and he jumps on the pile first, and he fell backwards. So he's laying on his back, and the rest of the team's on him. So he to this day, he'll swear like he almost passed out and he couldn't breathe. You know what I mean? Because everybody was on him, and it was so exciting. So we almost lost a legend there.
Hey, Josh, before we get on to what's going on right now, another twist on that question is, do you look back at a game that you played that you think you were at your best? Was the best game you ever played?
Either the Holiday Bowl against UCLA or the Wisconsin game in 2016 where we lost in overtime. The UCLA game was kind of I won't say breakout, because like I said, my first 2 years, for whatever reason, I just wasn't playing that good. I wasn't the kid I was in high school. And then, Bo obviously gets let go. So Papoose just came up to me and was like, dude, just go out there and just don't even think about scheme. Don't worry about anything. And because we didn't really have a scheme because Bo was gone, we just kind of went out there. And yeah, man. So that kind of kickstarted my confidence for the rest of my career. So both of those, I think, were the best games that I played, but UCLA set me up for a lot more.
All right, folks. I know that there's going to be a ton of questions about realignment, and it's been amazing the explosion of traffic that I've gotten on my channels regarding realignment. It's ridiculous. I posted one concerning Ohio State and some rumors there. That's got like 22,000 views in like less than a day. So people want to know about realignment, but of course we're going to focus on Nebraska. Want to make sure we get the Huskers in first. We'll definitely talk realignment at the end, but let's get to the Huskers first, Greg, and I'll tee it off with you just in regards to they get it all going on Friday. Your thoughts about, what's going to be important to get off to a good start in fall camp, what positional units in particular, what are your big storylines?
Well, I think Josh would agree with me right away, and that's to keep guys healthy and, not overdo things to start off. You're going to have a couple of days when they're just in shells, and then they'll put full pads on, and then they'll start to get after it. I think a lot of the information that we've gotten from Coach Frost lately is that some of those injuries are kind of clearing up. Marquise Stepp, the USC transfer running back, sounds like he's almost a full go, and a guy that we didn't get to see at all in spring camp. And Thomas Fedoni sounds like he's coming along a lot faster than everybody thought. Will Honus is a guy that might end up, medically redshirting. We don't know right now, but he's on the mend too. So I think they've had a lot of time off here lately, and coming off of Big Ten media days, and kind of reaffirming their allegiance to the Big Ten conference. Regarding some of this realignment talk, that I think everybody's just raring to go and ready to get after it. I'm sure Josh has talked to some of the guys, and they can't wait to get it going. So we're right there with them.
Yeah, man. Once you graduate, you lose track of time. So that's what a lot of these guys that are still playing, they'll understand later. But if I didn't keep up on this, like a year ago, I was doing my own thing. I was trying to play and everything, and I was like, oh crap! It's fall camp going next week, and school's starting in a couple weeks for kids and everything. And yeah, I've talked to a couple of the linebackers, and they're just ready to go. I don't know if it's a chip on the shoulder because obviously nobody's giving them any credit. And in a way, why should they? Because they really haven't performed quite up to snuff. So. Yeah, they've got definitely something to prove this season, and you can tell kind of by the workouts that they've been going through and everything.
It doesn't have to be, you've been going through your summer workouts, and you're good, and you get this a little bit of time off here before fall camp starts. What are those feelings like are you just amped up, just ready to go?
Yeah, it's different. It's different depending on what year you are. If it's your first year coming in, then you got some jitters. So it's like you're a freshman. I think it's 110 now. The fall camp is 110 guys, and you don't know what to expect. You've kind of heard some stuff from the older guys, but you're really just kind of going in blind to something this is my career. This is what I'm here for and supposed to do. Where if you're an older guy, it's refreshing to get to do this because, okay, here I just went through my third or fourth off-season summer and just lifting and running. And, it gets redundant and it's time to actually do something, So it's definitely a calm excitement for the juniors and seniors that, hey, we got to actually go do this again, and I've been there, done that. I know exactly what to expect, and I can just try and get better at what I need to get better at for my personal, self being a player.
Hey, Josh, for you and the guys that you played with and really respected on the defensive side of the ball, how much work did you have to put in from a physical standpoint? Like, where was that best place to be in regards to having enough rest and not having too much contact to where you stayed healthy versus staying sharp, knowing, practicing tackling, you got to practice tackling. Like, did you have a pretty good feel for how much tackling and contact you needed to be sharp, to be ready?
Oh, it's a real fine line. I'll tell you that. Because sometimes I think coaches, whenever they get behind the whistle, I think they forget that, okay, we've just been through like 5 days in a row and we've been going really hard, full pads. Maybe it's time to pump the brakes and we're going to hey, we're going to the movie today, or something like that. But, you definitely need that, especially early in fall camp. You need to break it in and have your neck sore and have everything sore. That way you can get it out of the way for the season. So, it's definitely a formula, and every coach has different philosophies on it. With Bo, we maybe did tackling drills once a week, and then with Riley, we did tackling drills every day. So, and both of them worked, right? Our second year with Riley, we had a great defense, and obviously Bo's defenses, we were always up there, ranked pretty good. So it's definitely a special formula unique to each coach. And for me, I think it's, probably half the week you need to be going, to the wall, and the other half you can probably tone it back and be a little more mental, where, other coaches like to go 90-10.
Greg, don't you think that Husker fans, a lot of just college football fans that follow Nebraska football, like shoot myself, would be surprised what Josh just said about how often they did tackling practice under Bo Pelini versus Mike Riley, that they did it more often under Mike Riley? I think most people would be shocked if they heard that. I was surprised.
Absolutely. And, I'm a guy that's been around through all of these coaching staffs, and I've seen the way they operate, and everybody's got their own unique style. I remember when, Josh, when Coach Riley was there, Josh was working through a groin injury, which really nagged him. And, it probably would have been helpful for maybe those guys to take a few days off from tackling and stuff. That's just my opinion, coming from a media point of view. But, I mean, most people, if they're not around it, they don't really realize the difference in different philosophies and stuff. And I saw a question of somebody had chimed in there and said that Josh would have been a stud there under Coach Shenander's scheme, and I agree with that 100%. Josh is the kind of guy that Coach Shenander falls in love with and lets him loose and goes and hunts heads.
You know what's going to happen here, Greg? Everybody's asking the questions to Josh. People are going to forget we're even here.
Yeah.
So, we're.
I'm just helping,
and that's all right. That's all right.
I don't want to miss any of those questions. I'm just trying to help out there.
The honeymoon
Greg is
they'll blend me in. They'll blend me in sooner than later.
Greg is certainly our recruiting expert, so I'm going to ask this to both of you, even though Josh is the one targeted. Do we see anything wrong with the recruitment and signing of Wandale Robinson and Luke McCaffrey as being wrong recruits? I can't even say I really understand that question by Andrew.
I mean, just because they left maybe is why he's asking it, and why they didn't fit in here. And no, I don't think so. From everything I know about from those two, that they're good guys, they're good in the community, and they're good in the locker room, and nobody's really had anything bad to say about them. I think it's just how it is nowadays. And especially with the NIL coming into play, if I'm not maybe getting what I need to get to the next level, right? If I'm not getting those reps on the field, or I'm not in the correct position to do that, or if I'm not getting the kind of recognition and money, now we can say that, then, the transfer portal and everything's just it's too easy to leave. So I don't think they were the wrong recruits. I just, they may not have wanted to wait for their time, I guess.
No, every kid's different. I mean, it's a different beast when you actually get, you go a long way away from home, and absolutely not were they the wrong recruits to recruit, because they were both highly ranked recruits, and they both were here 100%. Things just change throughout your college career, and Wandale Robinson, unfortunately, was forced into a role that he really didn't want to be in, and didn't see it changing. And he, with NIL, he would have been set up for, he was already the poster boy for Nebraska football as it was before NIL came in to play. And he'll get that at Kentucky, but just not at the rate that he would get it here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And Luke McCaffrey, you say what you will about the McCaffrey family. As far as we all know, they want to win. They want to be able to play. They want to be out there showcased on the field, and they're going to go find the best fit for them. They don't want to sit around and be second. So, no offense to McCaffrey. I went and saw both of those guys play when they were in high school, and they're both top-notch guys. Hold nothing against them. They're just looking for a better fit for them, and to be on the field and play right away. And in Wandale's case, he wants to play wide receiver and not running back.
Josh, Craig and I have reviewed the turnover rate on both sides of the ball, because it's certainly not what Nebraska needs or anybody would need to win. Bottom 5 to 10 in the nation, turning the ball over too much on offense. Bottom to 5 to 10 in the nation, not getting the turnovers. And of course, the season was only 8 games last year. So, how much you buy into stats. But from a defensive standpoint, if you know that you're not creating those kind of turnovers, how much can you practice that? How much of that can you really try to do without trying to do too much and missing tackles and doing bad things because you're trying to get turnovers?
I've been trying to figure out a great answer to this for like the past 4 years because we can't seem to get it. Offensively, I'm a defensive guy, so I mean, if I'm talking offense, just hold the ball, man. You know what I mean? Don't throw the bad pass. You're gonna do stuff. I mean, the other guys. That's what Coach Banker always used to say. The other guys are on scholarship too, right? They're good. They're gonna make plays. Cornerback's gonna jump and make a great play on a pass, and you got some big D lineman who's gonna be able to get the ball out. So, I mean, every once in a while, okay. And then on defense, man, it's just you can't teach doing turnovers. I mean, you really can't. I can know how to strip a ball 10 different ways, but unless I'm just in that perfect position and then happen to recall the thing that we practice once every 2 weeks, or even if you practice it every week, it's just, I don't know. I don't really have a good answer for why we always seem to be on the wrong end of the turnover battle. I wish I did, and I could go down there and be a consultant and fix it. But I for the life of me, I haven't been able to come up with any kind of answer for it.
Hey, if you're a guy from Nebraska, it doesn't matter what sport you're talking about, we're always on the wrong end of the stick on any calls anyway.
I'll tell you what, man. That's what it seems like for sure. It's tough being holding the end, man.
Yep.
Greg, Javin Wright playing time this year. Do you have any projection on that?
Oh, yeah, I think Javen's going to get a lot of playing time this year. I think you're going to see him as a little bit of a flex outside linebacker and a safety, kind of like what JoJo Doman does. And, I think he's going to start to come into his own this year. And, I think Husker fans are going to be pleasantly surprised. But most Husker fans already know his lineage. And, big things have always been expected of him since he stepped on campus.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Josh.
Well, I was saying he's got such a good role model, and JoJo being that thing, especially JoJo being here that 6th year, he's going to have all the advantages that he's going to need. Going on road trips, maybe rooming with him, and being able to kind of dissect a little bit more than if you were room with another freshman.
So I'm going to read this question, but I'm going to give you a little perspective on our deal here. You've known Greg, Josh, for a long time. My deal is TV guy for 30 years, just got out of that end of it about 9 months ago, decided to do my own thing. So local markets, Mississippi, Ohio, ESPN for 19 years in production operations manager. So I'm a national guy that comes in here and, knows Nebraska football from that standpoint, from a more national perspective. So when I see things like this, because this gets joked around all the time. Is it, I'm watching Nebraska play almost every game. I'm not watching the South Alabama game wire to wire, but you know what I mean? Watching just about everything. And people seem to be jumping on this every week. Is there something about Frost and screen passes and swing passes out of the backfield?
Yeah, and they has me doing that, but that's the Oregon offense. I mean, that's kind of what he, I guess, learned to be a coach on, and it worked. And there's a ton of potential in the play. If one guy misses a tackle, then it's out the gate, and you're getting a big yard. But man, I don't know if it's like the penalty thing where we just end up on the wrong side of it, but I'd say it's got like a 20% success rate. I don't know, Greg. What do you mean? You think that's about an accurate percentage? I mean, I hate to say it, but
yeah, no, I think you're right on there. I don't see it any different than that.
Josh, that has to be a horrible feeling when you're in the open field and you've seen a guy on tape that is amazing, and he's probably even better once you get him in the open field, and you got that kind of feeling like, I'm going to guess which way, but it's rough, in the open field against somebody who's just ridiculously quick.
Yeah, it's terrible. And almost the worst part about it is you get torn up about it, right? Like, oh, you just missed a tackle. You're supposed to be able to make this tackle, this and this. So we had I don't know if they did a raffle or something like that, but a group of just fans or whatever bought tickets, and they were a day in the life of a Husker. All right. So they came in, and then so I put them through a base defense, told them to take notes. We're going to go on the field and do it. And then we just did a simple tackling drill. and I was just in shoes, and we were just going like 50%, and whiff. I'm like, now you won't tweet about it because you see we're going 50%, and I'm not quick. You know what I mean? You get a guy out there that's pretty athletic. Yeah, it's not a fun thing to do. It's not. And some people, like for example, Luke Reimer, he doesn't think. He just goes and he shoots.
Quick.
And yep, and he's great, and he read it good. And other times you're just a little bit farther back. You didn't quite read it that good, or you're not that quick like myself. And you're like, here we go. Let's see what happens.
Hey, remember, talk a little bit about, remember when you went down to Atlanta for the 5-star challenge and you had to go, cover O.J. Howard?
We're 1-1.
Yeah.
1-1. So I'll take that pretty good. Yeah. No, that was kind of the first glimpse of like, oh boy. So this is what the next level jumping into college is going to be like. You're going to have dudes that are 6'6" and can run like that. Like, yeah, better get ready for it and strap up and get ready for college in a couple of years.
People have to understand too that those 1-on-1 drills are totally geared for the offense. The defense actually has no chance whatsoever. But when they do make a play, then you can see that they're pretty good.
Yeah, 100%. That's
Josh, who were the quickest?
You said what?
Go ahead.
No, that Friday Night Lights, the camp, it's great, right? 1-on-1s, it's good for the fans to see the receivers make the big plays, but the poor defensive guys are just, if you win, it's receiver catch the ball, but whatever next one. And if they win, it's hey, good job, they beat you.
Especially, it's even worse at the linebacker running back because Josh is already way back behind the line of scrimmage compared to the offensive player, so he's got to play catch up from the snap of the ball.
And slower.
Yeah.
And a lot slower. At least the DBs are just receivers that can't catch.
Yeah.
Who were the quickest and fastest guys that you had to deal with in the open field?
I played with Amir Abdullah.
Well, yeah.
I was miserable, man. It still baffles me to this day why anytime – just do a little motion, and anytime that the defense is in man-to-man, we're just going to run Amir through and let him do whatever he wants and give him the ball, and it's 10 yards of play easily, and they'll check out a man, and they'll be in zone the rest of the game. I don't know why we didn't do it. The man could cut on a piece of dust, not even a dime. He was so quick.
And, we've talked about it before on here. Amir came into Nebraska as a 3-star, and he ran 2 4-stars out of town that were in the same class, and Braylon Hurd and Aaron Green.
Yes, he did. And those guys were no joke either. They were all backs. But the craziest thing is everybody that was older than me that I played with said that Rex was actually quicker than Amir. Just with they said he had this little wiggle, right? It wasn't the drastic knees touching the ground. Make a defender fly by. It was just enough of a wiggle and step that he could just make him fall off. And I thought that was, knowing Amir's quickness, I was like, no way is he quick.
No, I remember Rex at the TCU Nike camp when he was a junior in high school. And you see this white guy with a balding head going and a little goatee and oh, my God, he was just putting on a show there. And I don't think he even had a Nebraska offer at the time. But, Rex was a special kind of guy. And Amir as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, Greg, Navy Thomas is here. So this is one of our guys, Josh. Navy Thomas, right. He's phenomenal. And he pounds the table every week about the 3-4 defense. He hates the 3-4 defense. Got to play a 4-3 defense. So we're going to have Josh settle this in regards to this current Nebraska team based on the personnel, based on what defenses you like and think are more effective, especially considering the offenses and, the offensive spread that they have to face week to week. What are your thoughts of 4-3 versus 3-4?
I am a very I like math, so everything is 2 + 2 is 4, right? Always. So I'm a big 4-3 guy because everything has its fit. Everybody has its spot. When we see this play and it's this defense, it's A gap, B gap, C gap, spill it, lever it, whatever. So I like that. It makes sense, and you can tell when you're watching TV. So when the Huskers If we let up a big run and then we play it back on TV and they wear nickels, we got 4 down linemen, and the announcer, because he's probably not very good because we're playing, Fordham or something, he goes, "Oh, well, that's on the linebacker." And you can clearly, if you know anything about defense, the D lineman moved out of his gap. So no, I'm a big 4-3 guy. I think to have a 3-4, you have to have space eaters. You've got to have Alabama D linemen. You got to have 3 of them. You really probably got to have 5 to keep them fresh because they're just big boys. And, they have to take on – they got to take on double teams. You got to be able to keep your linebackers free. Otherwise, it's kind of hodgepodge, I guess you could say. There's no real defined gap. It's play off of this guy and play off of this guy. So if you got some dudes, then just let them go out there and play ball and give them a scheme and give them some movement and let them go play. But I would say for like 90% of college football, you don't have those guys. They're rare. That's why you just don't see those guys going to Alabama, all the time everywhere. You don't see them. They're just on those certain teams.
It's like a 7-footer in basketball.
Yeah, you just don't get them. You don't get them. And if you got them, then great. Let's play to their strength. But unfortunately, they don't grow on trees. They are rare, and that's why they get paid that much money in the NFL.
Greg, let's hear from you first on this one, because it's just not a first game. It's a first game for a team that hasn't been winning, that the guys that are on this roster don't really know success. So the psyche might be a little bit different. How important do you think this opener is against Illinois? It's obviously a conference game. That's unusual. But in addition to that, just for this team versus maybe another team.
It's absolutely huge. I can't think of an opener that's more important than this one right now, especially against a team that it's a conference game. And, boy, I tell you what, I could not believe the amount of Illinois media that were there following around Brent Bielema last Thursday in Indianapolis. It was crazy. It was almost like the Nebraska media. Not quite, but almost. It looks like there's more momentum there behind that Illinois program than I was anticipating. So, Nebraska's got to get off to a good start. And, like we've talked about in the past, that's a good springboard to, hopefully you start out 3-0 before you head down to Norman and take on, one of the favorites to win the whole thing this year. Yes, this Illinois game, you've got to go out there and make a statement and, you got to go 4-1 going into that Michigan State game, to get the rest of the conference rolling. So it's important. It's very important.
I agree. And I think more than anything, because of the last 3 years and how they went, you've got to go out and do this for yourselves, right? Because you'll have a lot of guys on the team that, they're bought in, they worked hard, but, it's like, man, like, why are we doing so bad? If you go out and lose, you're going to lose a lot of your team because they're like, man, it's the same stuff over and over again. I'm going to transfer. I'm done with this. I'm out of here. That's going to be kind of the vibe in the locker room. You'll have some guys that are rah-rah and, we got to turn this around and this is BS and we got to practice harder and this and that. But you'll have the other group of guys that are like, we're not getting any better, man. We're out of here. Yeah, this is the same stuff we've been dealing with for the last 3 years. We should have did this. I should have played. You know what I mean? This scheme stinks. Why did you do this call? It's divisive, man. That's another thing when they talk about the 90s. They're like, oh, we were so close as a team. Like, well, when you're winning national championships, we'd be pretty close too. There's no arguments in the locker room after an undefeated season. So, but yeah, no, it's most important to keep the locker room together. Everything else aside, got to keep the locker room close.
And I think that this locker room is a lot closer than it has been in several years, especially because you have those super seniors that decided to come back and represent Nebraska for another year. And when you're returning 11 or 10 out of 11 starters on defense, you got some guys there that have a chip on their shoulder, and they're getting sick of only winning 4 games a year. This is not what Nebraska football is all about. And I think everybody on this roster now, the turnover has been enough to where I think everybody has bought in, and you don't have a lot of those kind of negative voices that come out of that locker room that Josh knows about. And, there's a lot of leaders on this team, and you got to look at a 4-year starting quarterback in Adrian Martinez, a guy that, in my opinion, I think he's in the best place he's ever been, in his mind and his body since he's been to Nebraska. And I think he's got the biggest chip on his shoulder to lead this team and to cut those offensive turnovers away and not put his defense in such a horrible spot to where they have to defend against something that they're not supposed to defend against. You see a big shift in the team if that happens, and I think it's going to happen. And like we've seen a lot, the weapons that Adrian Martinez has at his disposal this year are unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this in all my years of covering this team. You've got a wide receiver room that is got 2 NFL guys hands down on it, and then you got a stable of running backs, and you got the tight end room that has another couple of NFL guys on it. So and an offensive line that's 12 deep. So if they're going to make a difference, if they're going to make a change in the culture, I think it's right now, and I think it's happening as we speak.
Josh, the 90s have been brought up a few times, and when we say the 90s, you could go to almost any decade from the 50s or 60s on, and there were championship caliber teams. Okay. I do Ohio State, Florida State, Miami, Oklahoma shows, Oregon shows. This is the one where the past is brought up by the fans in the live chat more than any other show. So you being on the field during a time where you guys were successful, but not to that degree, how much was that a source of pride that all that amazing work was done before you, or was that a burden, or did it not really matter at all when it came right down to it?
I'd say it definitely instilled some respect. And the pride, a lot of us felt that we had to respect the end, respect the black shirt, and, kind of do the guys before us proud, understand what they did, try and put it into some of what we did. And, just do something that we could go and put on TV and put on the field that they would be like, okay, I see you, youngster, something like that. But, it's definitely in the back of your mind a lot, especially after you don't perform well. 90s, 80s, it just gets thrown around a ton, right? That's not how we did things. These guys wouldn't have done it like that. We went through 3 days and we did this and this and we were tougher, but man, it's like comparing LeBron and Michael Jordan. They're 2 different eras. Who knows what would have been what? Would the guys of old still been able to do this nowadays? I know for sure we couldn't have done any 3 days. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the speed is just different, or I know for sure strength and conditioning it's more of a thing now. It's advanced. Yeah, they were strong back then, but there was only a certain amount of teams that were strong, right? Because Nebraska created it, so we were the only ones that were hitting the weight room like that. And then it slowly grew in the 90s. You had your top echelon teams, but now everyone's got strength and conditioning. Everybody's got nutritionists, and everybody's dialing in these athletes' bodies to just run at an optimum level. So you felt it. You felt it, when you did things wrong, right? When you didn't perform how you should have performed. So that was a negative of it, but the positive of the make them proud, and this is the respect that they have given, that they made the end, right? The respect of the country that they have for Nebraska is because of these guys, right? That the program is, able to recruit great kids and have this many fans because of these guys. So the positives far outweigh the negatives, but definitely a double-edged blade.
And Nebraska has always prided themselves on being out in the forefront of all of this. Husker Power, there was nothing like that. Boyd Epley started the whole Husker Power movement. And you see Nebraska still being at the forefront of a lot of things these days. So that's never going to change. There's a little something special, about this place. And, for fans or media or players, they know what I'm talking about. And, Josh has a special kind of insight on it because his dad Tom played for legend, Tom Osborne. And if you want to compare 80s and 90s and 2000s, Coach Osborne wrote the book on all of this. And everybody else has been pretty much trying to play catch up since to what he did and what the groundwork that he laid here. Obviously, though, times have changed. You can't run the option anymore. That just doesn't work in college football. But you're always going to go think back to what Coach Osborne developed here, what Coach Devaney before him laid down. And, you had Coach Solich for a while who just retired from a long career at Ohio. And, since Coach Solich was here, we've been searching for that just that click that we need to have things like, all our great fans want to see Nebraska be back, being one of those blue bloods of college football.
Josh, you mentioned nutrition. Our guy D-Rock Irish, this guy's phenomenal. He jumps on everything I do, every live stream. It doesn't matter what the team, he's here asking questions. And he's been on this one recently. How important do you think diet is, nutrition, all of that? Is there a nutritionist on the staff?
Yeah. So I had one for all my years, and they had it in years past. The thing about nutritionists, and on most every college team that I've met guys from, just from doing the various pro leagues and just kind of going around the country, is they have a nutritionist and the structure is there, but the emphasis is still on the player. So we had nutritionists, and yet some guys had cereal for dinner every day, right? So you can still do whatever they want. Yeah. They're not forcing food down your throat. They're not giving you, here's your 2 scoops of broccoli, and here's your 3 scoops of rice, and here's this little piece of steak, and this is perfect for your body right now. They'll give you a plan. This is what you should do based on your body fat and your height and weight and your metabolism and things like that. But it's still on the player, right? Just like the coaches, right? I can give you the plays, I can give you the technique, I can give you everything, all the film you can study to be perfect for the game, but it falls on your shoulders. So yeah, everyone's got it. It's just how serious are you going to take that side of college football?
Not everybody's Tom Brady, right?
Oh, but that'd be tough, man. Avocado ice cream and just. I did the vegan thing. I did the vegan thing for 8 months. I did a little test for blood pressure and things like that, and it helped. It's good for you. It's great. But I think if you're going to be – he's a quarterback, so it's a little bit different. If you're going to be an athlete and you're running around and your body's getting beat up like that, again, happy medium between, what you should eat and meat and things like that. So there's something to it, but there's also something to how things have been done for a long time.
Plus, some of us boys from around here from Nebraska just need a big juicy steak every now and then.
Well, you got Omaha Steaks, man. It's a free shout out for them, by the way.
There you go. NIL, baby.
I know. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, give me the 50 cents they owe me.
Absolutely. Let's see. Alex, I don't even know where this is leading. I didn't read it first, but do you think we will have more holding calls going our way, or will we go another 3 years without a team getting called for holding against our defense? Speaking of penalties not going our way.
I think that's above any of our pay grade.
For sure.
But that was an interesting stat, though. I mean, that raised some eyebrows. And then the next game after that came out, we got a couple more. So
yeah, always. Well, that's the way it happens.
I can't see the rat. I mean, it's not like there's a conspiracy against us or like no holding calls. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes weird things pop up. It's an anomaly. What can I tell you?
The bad thing is that it happens in the worst possible times.
Yeah.
And so it sticks out in everybody's minds.
Yes. It's a drive killer.
Yeah.
I would say that they need to change holding from a 10-yard penalty. But yeah, for sure. But then you go to the NFL and pass interference could be a 75-yard penalty. So, I'm not going to complain when the offense gets dinged backwards. I know it's my Huskers, but I'm still a defensive guy at heart.
No doubt. Talking Nebraska football here every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central, 8 Eastern. Josh Banderas joining us tonight and hopefully many, many more nights in the future. And, of course, Greg Peterson, Husker Online. Join his YouTube channel right here, Husker Online. Just amazing when it comes to – I'm sure that you got a ton of stuff there from Big Ten Media Days, right, Greg?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had Austin Allen and Ben Stilley and Deontay Williams all dressed up, in their nines. Those guys clean up pretty good. I never thought I could see those guys looking that good. But, they had a lot to say, and Coach Frost spent a whole hour taking questions, and he held up pretty good. And Trev Alberts was there as well, and made a lot of headlines with his comments and stuff about the Big Ten and everything. So all in all, yeah, it was pretty good, and like always, we're ready to get it going. Enough talk. We don't need to hear from Kevin Warren and all that. So let's get it going. Friday, come on, strap it up.
Absolutely, yeah, it was a good day. Like you said, he handled it. He handled it well. Now this is his year to get the monkey off his back. The first 2 years, I think he kind of got some softballs all the time. Which deserving, right? You're a new head coach. I understand there's going to be obstacles, but last year you saw that there was maybe a little more tough questioning. What's kind of going on here? We keep seeing this, and you saw a little bit of that at Media Day. So this is his year to get the monkey off the back. This is put up or shut up time. So it's a good challenge, and obviously from his track record, he's a proven winner. So hopefully that starts to shine through now.
It's always fun, too, to see Coach Frost talk with members of the non-Nebraska media contingent, too, and just to kind of see the way he interacts with people that might not really understand what they're trying to ask him. So that's pretty funny. I just wanted to chime in real quick that I saw that question there. Somebody was asking Josh what it was like to play for Bo Pelini, and I got to think that, okay, my football career ended when I graduated high school from Lincoln East High School way back when. But I played linebacker just like Josh did, and I would think, in my mind, Bo Pelini would be the perfect head coach to play in my mind because all I wanted to do was hunt heads and just beat people up. What do you think, Josh?
I would say that Bo Pelini would be the best head coach minus being the public spokesperson.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if we could have him and then we could have somebody else go up on the stand and people would be like, oh, okay, well, I respect what you're saying. I know you're not the head coach, but that works for us, right? We don't need to hear from the other guy. Perfect. Great. Awesome. So on the field, that's what everybody saw. Everybody saw him on the field, and he was, obviously that personality, right? Real strong, real kind of get in your face. I mean, I'm telling you, I knew what flavor of chew he had in that day.
I think we all did.
Oh man, coming through the TV at you. Let me tell you, off the field, that's why there was a rift when the coaching staff changed because he was such a player's coach. He cared about all of us so much. I mean, he was a second dad to a lot of these guys, and he cared about us. We weren't just pieces of a puzzle that he was trying to, win a game to get a paycheck. He cared about cared about us, cared about our families and what was going on in our life. So yeah, man, he's a heck of a coach. He got a little intense on the field sometimes, but that's how people are. That's how some guys handle it. Coach Riley was obviously a total 180 the other way, but he was great.
We don't want to say anything bad. I mean, Coach Riley is a great guy. Great guy. I think we all fell in love with Coach Riley when he came to Lincoln. But yeah, going back to Coach Pelini, I don't think I ever heard anybody on the team say that they wouldn't run through a wall for Coach Pelini. So, but yeah, then you get the contrast to Coach Riley, who's going to coddle you and tell you how much he loves you and buy you a In-N-Out burger at the end of the day.
I wish we had one of those here. I would have been playing D tackle instead of linebacker. Maybe it's probably a good thing.
Hey, Toby's got a good question here. Just talking about basically a lot of the times I take these comments and questions from the live chat, and then I interject my own take on it because I want to find some things out. I'm going to guess, educated guess here, Josh, that you never played with a defense that had 10 returning starters from the previous year.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I highly doubt it. That's pretty good.
10 starters back.
He didn't have a coach returning from the previous year.
So, yeah, just imagine
50.
Just even if guys aren't like going crazy to get better, they're just doing their job in the offseason to get better and just knowing the scheme better. Can imagine having 10 guys back on defense that you played with game after game after game the year before. How much better should they be better on defense just because of that?
Well, wouldn't you hate to be the guy that wasn't returning? Don't you feel like the kid kind of left out of the circle? But no,
although he is a 5-star. Yeah.
There you go. Defense is all about communication, and a lot of these kids that I got some kids that are going to college, they're going to be freshmen that I'm working with a little bit, and I tell them, I said, you need to be like a subtitle editor, right? Everything that happens on offense, I need to hear words come out of your mouth. Motion, wise off, I got him, we're going to do this, we're going to switch if he does this, right? So guys that have been playing together, right, I understand maybe if I'm playing out there with Chris Webber, right, we have our own talk, our own little shorthand talk that we do. Or if I'm out there with Dedrick, Dedrick doesn't talk that much, okay? I'm going to need to do more of the talking. But if we've been through that, then I don't have to pick that up during fall camp. We're going to pick up running, and on the field we're going to have this little shorthand, or even sometimes just a look, right? Just a look when we see a certain situation, we know what happens. So that's the communication on defense is such a big part of the game that nobody can really tell because there's not really that good, there's no audio on TV, so nobody knows if you're talking. So that's going to be the main thing that's going to let them go faster. Yeah, they've got another year in the scheme, but the communication and the knowledge of your surrounding teammates is what's going to be able to have them excel.
Do you guys bring that up like during the game? Hey, man, you got to start talking a little bit more. Come on, communicate.
I've never really been with anybody that's been, in your face about it, because it's kind of you either got it or you don't.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. So yeah, Coach Bray would call Dedrick a mute every day. Like, why don't you stop being a mute and start saying stuff? But you either like to talk or you don't. So you're going to be out there, and the first thing that comes to my mind is I'm going to talk. I'm going to say something. I need to figure this out, right? A little bit of a motor mouth out there, where other guys that's not their first instinct, right? So you can get on guys, but it's not going to do any good, and it's just going to make him be like, get off my back, So no, it was always, you had a guy on the team, right, that would do that. Like for us, Nate in the secondary, me on the linebackers. If somebody was having trouble with the D-line or they didn't get the call, I took it on myself. Hey, I'll get you going, right? That's more what goes on in the game. You try and stay away from as much of the negative as you can, or as much of getting on somebody as you can during the game, because that doesn't do anybody.
No. Absolutely.
Talking Nebraska football on another Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. everybody can hear plenty from me. There's like 7 different live streams and a zillion videos, me talking about expansion and how I feel about it and what I think the transition is going to look like, Texas and Oklahoma. So I don't need to say anything. Go watch those videos. So Josh, do you have any thoughts about this? And Greg, we'll let you chime in after that in regards to this expansion, where it leads. Is it good for college football? Do you like it? What do you think of it?
Oh, I don't know, man. The as far as the conferences and everything.
Yeah, Texas, Oklahoma, and then what might, there's all sorts of crazy rumors out there, like ridiculous crazy rumors.
It's great for the SEC. It's great for Texas. It's great for Oklahoma. Everyone else, I don't know. Times to be told. I part of me thinks inevitably that there's going to end up, everyone's just going to kind of merge into a AFC, NFC kind of deal. And either you're in it or you're out. And obviously the playoffs expanding. I don't know if it's going to go much past where they want 12 right now. I don't think we're going to get to Mike Leach's 64, option, but yeah, I don't know. This has been kind of the craziest offseason with the NIL and with this, teams jumping ship, going to different conferences. And I don't know if it's in the Big Ten's best interest, because who you get can either help your brand or damage it. SEC, they just bumped their brand up by a whole lot of points, right? They got 2 fantastic teams, but unfortunately there's not a whole lot of fantastic teams out there that, maybe we want to come to the Big Ten. So I don't really know how much we could boost our rep. We've got some good teams with us, and if we add somebody like Kansas, okay, we got another Rutgers, right? Maybe it helped our basketball a little bit, but they've got some turmoil going on over there with that. So, everybody else is realigning. Hopefully the Big Ten kind of holds firm with, what we've been going with for a long time.
Yeah, I think, it's inevitable that we're going to have probably 4 super conferences, basically, is what it comes down to. The NCAA is going to be no more, and you're going to have – it's going to be basically a semi-pro league. And that's just what it's looking like, with NIL fueling all of this. And so, teams are going to have to scramble now to get, the best draw they can. Obviously, yeah, adding Texas, Oklahoma to the SEC, with a 12-team playoff, you're pretty much guaranteeing that the SEC is going to have 6 of those teams in the college football playoff. So, yeah, it leaves everybody else scrambling. Kansas is definitely one of those teams that is always brought up, with us in the media since all of this has been breaking out. But the most logical thing that I have heard is actually USC and UCLA joining the Big Ten.
No.
You're expanding your footprint, but you're adding 2 schools that meet the criteria for the Big Ten. Kansas does. They meet that criteria, the academic criteria. People will say try to throw out like an Iowa State out there. No, sorry, Iowa State, not an academic school. They're going to be left one of those. They may have to join the Missouri Valley when it all comes down to it. But yeah, you're seeing a lot of these other teams going to be just basically thrown by the wayside and trying to jump on to a conference. And one of the biggest wild cards is Notre Dame. I mean, do they join with the ACC? Does the ACC go away as well? So there's a lot of pieces in place here, and I think we're just on the brink of what's going to happen. And it's just going to be one big NFL league, just like Josh was saying that. You'll have an AFC and an NFC with 2 conferences, and the top 3 out of each one make the playoff.
Nope.
There you go, folks. And again, if you want to dig more into this, I've got so many videos on every angle of how this is going to play out, or guesses on how it's going to play out. Because like I've said, Greg, I don't know if you agree with this. The last time we went through this, run of expansion, because once 1 or 2 leave, then the dominoes fall. Texas A&M, Missouri, and on down the line, Nebraska included. 10 or 11 years ago, Colorado, Utah, then 4 or 5 years later, Maryland, Rutgers. You could kind of logically predict it and say, okay, geographically that makes sense. But like you're saying, with the Big Ten talking USC, UCLA, like nothing makes sense. Like open up, just outside the box, think like crazy stuff could happen. Like none of those old rules are in play in terms of, well, they're going to stay in this part of the country, or nope. It's all about as long as those academic requirements are met by the Big Ten, and they do stick to those as well as the Pac-12, they're going to go after the best football programs they can find.
Absolutely. I mean, you can make a video game out of it and, see where your dominoes land.
Mention USC and UCLA in the Big Ten.
Yeah, how about that?
Seems
crazy.
Seems odd. They're definitely going to have to adjust, right? If they were to come.
Well, you would have to basically you would have to schedule like a team would go out and play a couple of games out on the West Coast.
Rutgers.
The Pac-12 does that already, and they're pretty close. They'll play like Washington State back to, or at least they used to do that.
Yeah.
And I got to think it's not going to cover all sports. There's no way women's soccer teams are going to be traveling from Rutgers to USC or UCLA and all over. I got to think that would be a football only thing.
I don't know. Now you're getting in. Now you got the Title IX coming in there. We got all these rules coming, and everything has to be abided by. Mm-hmm. What are we going to bend for? What are we going to? It's the Wild West out here, man. It
is.
Who knows what's going to happen? know, and just it's a whole nightmare. Pretty soon, Florida State's going to be in the Big Ten.
There you go. I've heard that. I've already heard that one too. So
now.
Well, I heard Clemson and Florida State.
Heartbeat. I think they'd rather go to the SEC though.
I've thrown out UCF. I think that's a sleeping giant right there. I think, the huge entertainment base, Disney, Orlando, recruiting footprint in Florida. They've got a huge school, huge alumni base. They've shown that they want to be good in football. They have been good in football.
Yeah, and honestly, it's probably going to be, I don't know, you can look at it both ways, but I think it would probably be a positive for recruiting, because now you're going to go recruit in California and you'll be like, well, we're going to play a game here. We're going to be here. Your parents are going to have to fly to Nebraska every game. We're going to be here, a home game. And if UCLA is there, we're going to be in California 2 home games out of the year. So it helps with recruiting. And that's why leaving the Big 12 hurt us, because we lost that Texas pipeline. Yep. We lost it because we're not down there anymore. And I get it. I understand it. But that was a large piece of our puzzle.
I've answered that question how many shows have we done? 27? I probably answered that question probably 20 of those 27 shows.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a good one, guys. Greg Peterson, Husker Online, always here, 27 consecutive shows, and this show only exists because of him. So, Greg, we know, we hope we appreciate it, and everybody else does out there. Josh Banderas, Nebraska football, of course, from 2013 to 16. And Josh, that you are welcome here each and every week as much as you can make it. It was great having you.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It was fun. Anytime you can talk Husker football, I'm all about it. You guys are great. So I hope to be on next week.
All right, folks. We'll be back next Tuesday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. See you then.
Absolutely. Monday we'll have practice too. First practice availability. So we'll be able to recap what we saw.
There you go.